Check 1 2. Here we are back again on the Zen. This is the Zen video. This is the Art Professor's podcast. Whoa, so much has gone on in the last week. We have to update you on life, but also stuff that's happened in the world. A crazy week, right? We bombed Iran. Oh my God. Anyways, so those that don't know, I'm an artist, art professor, and living life, trying to make it happen, trying to keep it real, doing all the things. I teach this upcoming school year. We'll be at Rochester Institute of Technology. I taught there last year. I'm on a 1-year contract. I taught 2 years ago at Northwest Missouri State University for 1 year. I taught 3 years ago at San Diego State University. And that's where I also got my graduate degree the year prior to that. For 3 years I was there. Taught some classes while I was a graduate as well. Thankful for that experience. Man, life has been a crazy ride. I tell you what, and then my undergrad was at the University of Washington back way long time ago, and I don't reveal my age at the moment. I will eventually, but right now I like living in mystery. How old is Zim? How old is Zim? He's got the gray, but he's also got just awesome energy. He's like, it's hard. He's an enigma. The enigma, I'd like to say. But anyways, here we are. Thank God for, or whoever you pray to, the universe, for just, what's the word? A moment to breathe. I feel like, life, those of you that have been following along with me know that it's really hasn't been easy. Right this moment, I'm like, some good things have happened, which I'll tell you about throughout the podcast to help me feel a little bit better about life and things. So let's get into it. First off, we start off so we're in season 2.5, I like to say, the summer season of 2025 between school years. And our priority is talking about the YouTube, what's going on there. So let's talk about the YouTube. Also, we'll go into YouTube, we'll go into some kind of art and world stuff. It's kind of all mixed together. Then we'll go into my art practice, then we'll go into some school update stuff, and then we'll go into some life update stuff, I guess. And then that's how it'll go today. So to start it off today, 9,113 subscribers, which is, in fact, a plus. So last week we're at 9,059. Let's do the math real quick. 54, plus 54 from last week. And our members count is at 206, actually. They're a day behind on the sheet that I gave you there to look at, but it says 207. So we're down 3 from last week, which, yeah. And then you can see the chart, you can see the graph there. We're still on the plateau. And probably next week. I told you last week that this one will probably have the drop off. Probably next week we'll have a very significant drop off of members, because I think it's this weekend will be the moment that they drop. The 30 days will be expired for all the gifted memberships that we got. So that big spike that went up, that vertical line, is where we got like 90 gifted memberships in one stroke. So it'll go down. So we'll just have to wait and see when that happens. But yeah, another thing I wanted to point out right here, around here somewhere, under summary, it says views, 80,000 views, which is significant. I like that. I like what's happening there. That's like way higher, and it's been progressively getting higher and higher. Like it used to be like, I'd say like 12,000 views on average, So I've been posting a lot more. Some of my content has been getting more views, like in shorts mainly, like in the 1,000 viewer. Nothing viral, nothing even close to viral, but just more, death by 1,000 cuts when it comes to getting support or getting things happening on the YouTube side of things. So it's just interesting. We'll track that as well, see if where that goes, and my pattern of outputting content and how that'll happen. So the main thing I'm doing these days, though, since we've crossed over that 9,000 mark, and we're less than we're less than 900 subscribers away from 10,000, which I'm really stoked on. They'll happen every day. I'm doing a countdown video every day. One of them is in there down there. It says 896 till 10K. Today I did one was 887. Yeah, it's still at the same number. So 887 till 10K, and every day I just go, we're this many away from 10K, and like try to inspire people to come hang out and talk to us, but they really don't do anything. So they haven't yet. So I don't know. Obviously, I'm hoping that something I make at some point will gain some degree of, a little bit of virality. So it'll like people will just be like, oh, like subscriber count will start rolling. They'll be like, oh, I like what this guy is about, and for whatever reason, that thing I published gets people to subscribe, right? Right now, if you know anything, okay, I'm gonna move these off the screen. If you know anything about kind of the state of the internet and videos and these kind of content platforms like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, we're at a place in this evolution where people don't subscribe or don't follow based on a piece of content they like. I'd say around the pandemic, around 5 years ago and previous, all you needed was one piece of content and you would get subscribers off of it. And then it would spread. Like one piece of good content or one piece of content that got people interested would affect the videos around that content. Like people would look at a video that you posted yesterday and videos that are coming. Your overall platform would see like effect of that kind of content. That doesn't happen anymore. You can post the most amazing, awesome thing that'll go viral, and nobody subscribes from it. Like not nobody. People will subscribe off of it, but it's not nearly the impact that it used to be. You used to be able to put out one piece of content that was awesome, and people would rally. That doesn't happen anymore. You have to constantly be putting out great content. Plus, or you have to be beautiful, as we've talked about before, and also be beautiful. So if you put out a amazing piece of content and you're a beautiful person, then people will follow and subscribe you because you're giving value to them through them looking at you. All right, so that's where we're at with the YouTube. It's trucking along. My hope is that I really want to hit 1,000 before August. I really want to hit 10,000 before August. I need to get 25 subscribers a day in order to do that. I did the math. Right around 25, and that's just doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen, my friends. So, unfortunately, it's unlikely that we'll hit 10,000 before August, but fingers crossed we do. Oh, there is a chance we might. So, Monday, I should be getting my deposit for my next paycheck, where they said that my bonus will be on. If everything goes as what they told me, my bonus will be on next. So then I could possibly go get the Switch 2 that I'm going to use as a giveaway, and then that might help. I really hope it does. I really hope that once I start announcing the giveaway on my channel, there'll be more stuff we'll be giving away than the Switch 2, but the Switch 2 is the big one. We'll do mechanical keyboards, we'll do some gift cards, we'll do some other random stuff. So, yeah, hopefully, and that there's a potential that could drive us past that, get a couple hundred subs out of that. That's where we're at there. I guess that's the update on the YouTube stuff. We're looking good though. I'm happy with the progress of what's going on. Just overall, just something like it feels like good things are happening still. It's slow. It is what it's always been in a lot of ways, but it feels good. It feels good. So that's where we're at. Okay. Let's see. I have a whole list of bullet points of stuff. First thing I'll start off with is, if you've noticed, maybe you've not noticed, you're probably not looking at it that closely, but the video is slightly different. You can see there's like a tracing. The interlacing of the video is slightly different when I move my hand and stuff. It's because I'm using a different camera than I normally use. using a Nikon D5300. So that I bought it in 2017. It has an HDMI clean out. However, it turns off every 30 minutes. So I have to like touch it. I have to do something to wake it back up. The camera that I've been using is a Sony a5100, which I much prefer for the process of recording these and live streaming and stuff, because it's got clean HDMI as well, but it also doesn't turn off. Like I can just turn it on and it turns. The problem though, this solder joint in my HDMI cable has gotten weak. So if I jiggle, if I move it, it'll cut out the video, and sometimes it's hard to get it back to where it needs to go. So I can't use this one anymore until I get it fixed, which I'm going to try to do. But I also hope to use some of that bonus money to buy a new camera. The A6100, I think, is 10 something VA Sony camera. So anyways, just to update you on gear, what's going on there. And then I'll get this one, I'll buy a new one, I'll get this one fixed, and then I'll have that extra camera to put around that's better than that one. That camera's just not ideal for this. It's heavier on the track. It's like there's just so many things about it. But luckily I have it so I can keep recording. I mean, I guess I could have done it through my laptop camera, but anyways, that's where we're at there. Little behind the scenes studio update. Okay, we got some other things. A bunch of bullet points. All right, recap from last week. Or not recap, but an addendum from last week. So I talked about the No Kings March and that kind of moment, which was great, awesome, enjoyed it. I hear there might be another protest on July 4th, actually, 4th of July. But I don't know, I haven't seen a ton about it yet. Just some posts every once in a while, but I don't know how organized it is yet, so we'll see. The point, though, is something that we've been seeing a lot of people talk about since then is this ability to feel pride again in the American flag. And I'm no exception to that. Like, I was definitely, like, every time I saw an American flag, I was like, it represented MAGA, it represented, just America, that the worst parts of America. You can't, there are obviously great things about America, and right now we're living through some of the worst things about America. And that's what it felt like. It felt like the scale of the symbol of the American flag was tipped toward the worst things about America. Our foreign policy is in the toilet. Our social kind of, just being kind to each other is in the toilet. It's like the amount of hate and vitriol that we're willing to spew to each other and to the world. And that's what it felt like, that what America represented right now when I looked at the American flag. It's just this like ignorance and hate and just all that stuff. And then the No Kings March happened and it reclaimed that symbol for me. The No Kings March reclaimed the symbol of the American flag. And, thank God again for that feeling and that idea. Thank the universe for that, because that's the way it should be, right? We should all have pride in our flag. We should all celebrate it. We should all be able to lift it high and go, yes, there are problems in America, but this is still the people's flag. This is still our flag, and we should be proud of it. So I'm actually planning to get a flag of my own. I want to get an American flag. I want to get a couple pride flags and hang them and just announce and be performative with my support and announce it and be like, and make it clear visually in where I am that I do not support what's going on in our society right now. Another thing that's come up, so I had this one of my kind of, I don't know, supporters, I'll say, one of the people that come to my streams and hang out and game with us emailed me, sent me a direct email and said, something along the lines of, I don't support everything you believe in, but I still want to hang out. Are you going to kick me out? Because I've been pretty aggressive about banning people that support Trump. I'm like, if you support this, you support hate, and I don't want you around. Think about it. Which brings me to another thing that I'll put in here. Actually, I had it lower in the thing, but I am the velvet rope this space is the velvet rope. I have no qualms or reservations about being no. If you want to enter this space, there are certain criteria, and I'm allowed to hold that criteria. You have to be kind to each other. You have to be empathetic to each other. You have to be willingness to do that. And that's what the MAGA and Republican and Trump supporters are unwilling to do. They're unwilling to be kind. They're unwilling to be empathetic. They're unwilling to show support for diversity of people because they've been tricked or trained to hate. Either way, they've either been tricked or trained to hate, and they're doing it. So until they wake up and decide they don't want to be that way, they're not allowed in my space. There is a velvet rope in my space, and you're not allowed here. So I'm completely fine with it. So I had somebody concerned about that because they like the space, right? They understand that it is a supportive space. And so I had this discourse through direct messaging with this person, and it was clear to me that they hadn't yet. I wasn't sure how old they were. I don't know how old most of my viewers are, but because I do the gaming stuff, a lot of them can be younger. A lot of them may have not even voted yet. A lot of them might still be living with their parents. And it became clear to me that I think this person was still living with their parents, probably maybe hasn't voted yet, but is starting to have ideas, right? And wanted to push back on my viewpoint. And you go like, well, not all Republicans are bad. And it's like, yes, they are. Unfortunately, yes, they are. And it's like one of the points that came up is like they were talking about, well, I like to support the LGBTQIA plus community. It's like, you cannot support the LGBTQIA plus community and vote Republican. There is no possible way you can do that. It is not possible. There is no way you can do that. And so it's like, you can't say I don't have a problem. This is what I wrote down. You can't say I don't have a problem with those people and vote conservative. You can't say I don't have a problem with LGBTQIA plus people and then vote Republican, because your vote is saying yes, you actually do have a problem with them. You can't say I don't. They can do whatever they want just as long as they don't. But I'm going to vote Republican. No. Your vote Republican is saying you have a problem with a certain group of people, and most people that aren't white and male. If you vote Republican, you are saying you have a problem with people that are not white and male. And that's just facts. And if you're not willing to look at it and research it and dissect it, you're the problem. The other thing that came up is this idea of like, that kind of concept in this discourse with the person. I was like, they were like, oh, I said something like, your parents probably have some pretty deep internalized racism, around ideas. It's like, think about what it is that how do they actually feel? And that's when it came up to like, oh, they don't have a problem with those people. They just don't, they're not gonna, whatever. They can do what they want, but they're gonna also be Republican. No, it's like that this. Right here, what I've been saying, and this is what I said to him. Or I think it was him. I'm pretty sure it was him. What I sent back was like, I was like, essentially the idea was like, I should probably read it, but essentially it was this. If you're neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. It's like, they just you can't say you don't have a problem with something and then vote against their best interests. You do. That means you do have a problem with it. That means you do. And that's that's one of the main problems with our society. Too many people are just sitting on the sidelines. They're just sitting on the sidelines that they don't think they are contributing to the problem, because they're like, well, I don't have a problem with them, but I'm going to this is what I want. I want to vote this way because I believe I believe what the Republicans say about, it usually boils down to their money. 9 times out of 10, when somebody says they don't have a problem with different groups of people, ethnic, racial, gender based, like whatever, identity based people, whenever somebody says they don't have a problem with it, you can usually trace it back, but they still vote conservative or Republican. It's usually because they think the conservative Republicans will allow them to keep more of their money if they're not blatantly racist. Again, oftentimes you just have to like sit down with one of these people and just start asking them a few questions, and you can see their implicit biases like just explode in front of their face. Go like, oh yeah, you're actually racist. That's why you agree with these kind of things. But if, let's just say, they're like spectrum-based racist, they're not KKK members, but they're not, obviously, progressive. They're in that weird mud in the middle where they don't understand all the things that they're choosing to do are actually racist. That are stemmed in racism anyway. The things they believe and the ideas they think about are actually stemmed in racism. I mean, we're affected by. I mean, just right now, it's like everybody. I mean, I'm a victim of this too. Like, I've been indoctrinated to the point that I think most people that don't live in America live in third world conditions. But the reality is, they live in better conditions than we do. So it's like I've been trained that way because they propagandized me so hard that I think anywhere outside of America isn't as good. But I know that's not real anymore, but I just haven't seen it yet because we're shielded from the reality. But it's the same kind of concept, And so, but then as you sit down with them, the other thing that's like really usually right there on the front is they think a conservative viewpoint will allow them to keep more of their money. They're so afraid of anything sort of socialist for one idea, but this taxation of it, which, I mean, the fact that Reagan was in the 80s and people still refuse to learn that it doesn't work. The more you allow the 1% and the rich to keep their money, the more they want to take from you. It doesn't work itself out. We need equity within the system. Anyways, so I don't know, I kind of lost my train of thought there a little bit, but the bottom line is, it's really you can't, there's so many, and the LGBTQIA plus community is one great example. You cannot vote and support a Republican agenda any way whatsoever and claim to support the LGBTQIA plus community. It is impossible. And there are many others that are that way too. The amount of people that vote against their best interests, from women to ethnic minorities, I guess you could say, in America. I don't know how to phrase it in a politically correct way, but the amount of people that I see, especially on TikTok, I've been cleaning out my TikTok aggressively, or not even cleaning it out. Like, I mainly just been, every time somebody shows support for MAGA, I just block them. And the amount of people that support MAGA, that MAGA hates, just blows my mind. Black people, women, Latinos, obviously, just so LGBTQIA plus. The amount of people that support MAGA or Republicans or conservative agendas that agenda hates and they still support it blows my mind. Oh my God. So there's where we are in that. So the other thing that I realized, and I already made a little short about this, is MAGA, especially MAGA, maybe not the fringe Republican people that still voted for Trump, but did it just because they were too afraid of, they think the world's gonna go to shit if there's anything democratic or socialist or anything like that. They've been so brainwashed to believe that the other side is evil. It's just such a weird. This is what's so one of the things that's so frustrating is, like, sort of each side thinks the other side's evil, and there's like no reality check, right? But the way I judge my evilness, the way I judge my everything. This is another thing that came up, is like the first thing that this person asked me about our Discord, about, you know, why I support what I do and where I get my information. I get my information from the source. Donald Trump speaks out of his mouth disgusting, just gross, just the worst of the worst, right from his own mouth. I don't need a filter. I don't need any news source to tell me anything. He says it straight out of his mouth. So what, and people still support him, which brings me to this other point of you know, this idea of he's a felon, right? Our community, our society agreed on a set of rules and laws, and Trump broke those rules and laws and was convicted to be a felon. Of course, there's like the cult will say, oh, it was all a witch hunt. Oh, it's not real. It's like, well, what? You know, it's like, I refuse to believe it's not real. The courts, the due process did its process, right? And so we know that this man was a felon. He committed crimes against the American people, against a lot of things. He's been committing crimes his whole life. He's just not a decent human being. And I kind of knew this already, but it kind of really clicked over in my kind of recent investigations into this kind of phenomenon that's happening. Especially once we bombed Iran, there's so many people that tout the idea that Donald Trump's a felon as a positive. They're like, oh, Iran thinks they're gonna like push around a felon. It's like, and it just kind of clicked in me even more. It's like, these people value the fact that he's a felon. They think that's a positive. They think that's a plus. That it just boggles my mind that so many people think that that's a positive. And yet the same exact people want to persecute immigrants for not being documented properly, want to, you know, racially profile people for whatever reason, you know, want to, you know, make more content that shows certain ethnicities in a negative light because of just their skin color, you know, make them look like criminals. They want people they don't like to be persecuted as criminals, but they want to celebrate people they do like for being a criminal. Basically, make it make sense, right? I'm not gonna move the camera. I'll put a picture on the screen. We are deep into it. I finished phase 1 of the piece, which I'm feeling pretty good about. So I did the game avatars took me longer than I thought they would. Each day, like each session of drawing, I was like, it's taking me so much longer. It was basically like 40 minutes a character versus the 30 minutes, 40 to 50. I don't know. It was 40 plus per character, whereas just the faces that I drew before, like 30 or less, you know. But part of that I realized is because I was filling out more. Part of it is because I'm way more practiced at the faces. Like I know what I need to do and not need to do, and like I know where the efficiency is. Like with the avatars, I didn't know where the efficiency was because I don't know these characters that well. So I'm just copying basically. I'm going like, this is what the picture looks like. Make sure I do it. Like, you know, it's like, and then eventually I'll go back. Like I'm calling this phase 1. This whole process that you saw is phase 1 because eventually I'm going to do the same thing on the upper part of the mural with some political figures. I've decided, so on the left side right now, it has 5 figures. It has Justin Jones and Justin Pearson. It has Maxwell Frost. It has Sarah McBride. And it also had, in the lower center, Beto O'Rourke from Texas, who I like a lot. But I'm going to replace Beto O'Rourke for Zohan Mandani. I hope I pronounced that right. So, because the relevancy of it, you know, the election for mayor will happen after I get to show this piece, I believe, or right at the time that this piece gets to be shown. So there'll be this relevancy of that kind of idea. So that's really cool. And then the center one column will be these flags. Still debating on how I'm going to approach that. We'll see. We'll see. I might do a collage thing there. I might do gouache. I might do metal leaf, but I don't think I can get all the colors. If I could get all the colors I want and need, I will do metal leaf. But I should order that now. I should do that this weekend. I'll look at that. And then on the right side, we have more political figures. We have AOC Bernie. We have Pete Buttigieg. We have Jasmine Crockett, and we have Zoe Zephyr from Montana. So I think that like fits the kind of place of where I support politically. You know, I'm trying to make sure, you know, I'm progressive. You know, I want to make sure, I hope that any of these people aren't establishment Democrats kind of, because we're seeing right now in the amount of, like, what's happening in this New York mayor race is so interesting to me. It's like, this is where, when they say this, what's happening, it's when they say they're both the same. This is the example of, yes, they're both the same. The fact that the establishment corporate Democrats are so like hungry to keep hold of the power they have and their status and whatever it is. It's like, I believe if the Democratic Party needs to go like, you know what? Our time, we've done it. We did what we needed to do. It's time to pass the torch. There's a new ethos. There's a new way of being in that America wants. So it's time to pass. But there are so many people with power that want to keep the Democratic establishment the same as it's been, and it's not working anymore. It's not working. So thank God Zoran Mamdani won the primary. He's got to now win the actual election. But it's a sign. If he wins the actual election, I hope that it's a signal to the rest of the country that says, you know, we can be more progressive. You know, I do tend to agree with the idea that we got to get socialism out of the name, because why does it have to be called democratic socialist? Why can't it be called, I don't know, progressive or something else? Why can't it be called something else? Why does it have to be called democratic socialism? Because it just makes people think it's socialism, which it's not. It's, you know, it's like a whole different thing, but just makes it an uphill battle. But it's just so interesting what's going on, and I really hope, I pray, you know, this is what I want. You know, I want our country to go this direction, you know, and in an ethical and non-corrupt way. You know, everybody that talks about like these kind of ideas always points to like Venezuela and other places that failed because of corruption of other ideas. You know, capitalism is failing because of corruption, like, and greed. You know, capitalism could work fine if it wasn't like, if you capped yourself, if you had some kind of self-regulation of going like, all right, I've made enough. It's time to give back. It's time to employ more people. It's time to do whatever. But unfortunately, the game, we've gamified it and made it like, I need all of it, you know? And it's like, oh my God, you don't need all of it. Capitalism will work fine if you just self-regulate it, but it's an addiction, right? Money is like anything else. It's an addiction, and people with it want more of it. So that's the piece of our work, right? That's the piece of our work. I'm really excited. I'm at a fate, like, if you asked me like a couple days ago, I was saying like I could visualizing how long this is going to take. Really was, I was like, I don't know, I really hope I get this done in time and all this stuff. But now that I'm through this first phase of this lower section, I'm like, okay, I can see the finish line in a sense now. It's going to go fast now. I mean, I could get it done in maybe a couple of weeks. I think I could possibly I'm definitely going to get all the rest of the faces done next week. So that's 1 week down. So that all the faces will be done. I think I'm going to put this wording through the center, and that won't take a long time. So I don't know. I feel like it'll start cooking pretty fast. And then once I kind of get it all done, right? Kind of like the first coat, I was saying, I call it like the first coat of this whole process. I'm going to go back through it all and refine things and just kind of react to it. Like, I've been using my reference a lot to create it. But then I won't even look at my reference, and I'll just be like, okay, I feel like I need a little more intensity here. I feel like I want a little more light here. I feel like I want to mark here. I feel like I want this here and that there. So I'll just react to it and then fill it in and then make it feel more like this piece behind me. So it has this kind of full, complete, right now there's so much negative space. It's hard to know. It still feels pretty loose at times. But I'm gonna tighten it up. So that's where we're at with that. Looking forward to that whole process. Really excited about it. While I was working on this, I kind of had another sort of teaching moment for myself about how I can express to my students how to think about their work. And when you get to, and I think I've kind of said this before, but I really feel it now more than I did before. All two-dimensional art, I don't know what the translation necessarily is for anything outside of two-dimensional art, but like drawing, painting, two-dimensional, even possibly graphic design and illustration, obviously, and anything that you're putting in on 2 dimensions, all it is, it's all paint by numbers. It's all paint by numbers. Once you realize it, but it's just you're creating the paint by numbers. And then what those paint by numbers is, it's all value and shapes. That's all it is. There's no object anymore. There's no object. It's just a shape of an idea and a value. And once you put these puzzle pieces together, these shapes and values together, it forms the idea, it forms the object. It represents something. But once you can start to see just the shapes and the values and not the object, that's when you can really start making it and manipulating it. And because that's what I do. That's what I do. It's like shapes. I really try to make the values kind of push in both directions. I really like this high contrasty value idea. If there's a light value and a dark value, I really push the light and dark in whatever this composition is. But until you kind of understand that that's all it is shapes and values, if you keep trying to look at the object, you kind of get lost in the sauce sometimes. It's like you got to just go, like, you look at whatever it might be you're trying to represent. If you're trying to draw Mikey, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, it's just shape of a belt and a value you place with it. It's like dark, just shape of his chest plate and a value, a shape of the shadow and a value, shape of, just like shapes and values. That's all it is. Shapes and values. That's all it is. And then you apply color on top of that, and that's a whole another kind of way. But the baseline of it, the fundamental truth of two-dimensional artwork, shapes and values. That's all it is. And it's pretty profound, but it requires, what I feel like it requires though, it requires a degree of mastery, because you have a hard time of seeing it just as shapes and values until you've spent some time, spent some significant time just drawing or making and representing and making. Because eventually because at first, as a young artist, we so cling to the object. We so cling to the representation. If you're trying to make anything that has any remote kind of idea of representation, obviously if you're just going pure abstract, that's a whole nother thing, but still, shapes and values is a big part of it. But shapes and values. I think that's pretty profound, if you ask me. Anyways, all right. That's it for that life update. This is getting fun. Life update. First off, school update. Nothing to report. It's really quick. I haven't got any more emails. I don't know what classes I'm teaching. So there's been zero kind of like update on the school front. So I'll let you know as soon as I know. There's part of me that's like, I kind of like not knowing so I can just focus on other things. But I would also kind of like to know. I really don't want to know less than 2 weeks before school starts. If I find out everything I need to know less than 2 weeks before school starts, I'll be like, God damn it. and I just have to like struggle and get frustrated and feel like I don't have enough time, and then I probably do have enough time, because there's also a couple things. Like, I would like to know mid-July, I think, so I can just sit with it for a second, ruminate on it. I don't have to jump into preparing for anything. I can just kind of, ponder, and then like basically August 1st, essentially, I'll start prepping. I'll start doing all like the actual putting things on my courses and the physical administrative stuff and getting it all squared away. Nothing's kind of happened yet for the school stuff, but what has happened is the kind of most exciting news for me is since last week. I told you last week. So last week, today is, so the 2 weeks ago I did my bike ride around looking for a place to live. I went down to, what day was it? I guess it was last Friday? It might have been, I can't remember. I feel like it was possibly after the recording of the last podcast. I went to the apartment complex, did a little tour of it, and then, cut to the chase, I put a deposit in for that apartment. So I'm now officially going to be moving. I'm so relieved. I'm so happy. I got the approval for, so a bunch of things I've learned, life stuff that maybe I'll share with you. So I got the approval for the apartment 2 days ago, or yesterday morning. So a couple days ago, they sent me an email with this like online portal and I was like, does that mean I got the thing? They're like, no, not yet. It just means we're kind of getting you in the system. I was like, okay. And then the day later or something, or 2 days later, 2 days later, they emailed me. It was yesterday morning. Today's Friday. So Thursday morning-ish sometime, they emailed me, said, congratulations, you're approved. Send us a deposit, bring us a deposit. It's $13.45 a month is what I'll be paying. And we'll talk more about that in a second. So I was like, yes. So I got it. I went down this morning before recording this podcast. Here's some stuff to teach you, and if you didn't know. So I don't have a bank. So one thing you may consider, so this is the hard thing. If you're traveling a lot, like I was, you don't want to open a new bank account everywhere you go, right? But there is an advantage to it. It's not that hard to do. Go into a local bank and say, I need a bank account, so that at least you have access to money like locally, or find some bank that does have some local connection. Like my credit unions tend to have arrangements, and I'm sure one of my credit unions probably has an arrangement with some local bank, but unfortunately I don't use my credit union as the regular kind of place, and it's like takes a couple days to transfer to my credit union. So everything I use is in my bank, which is a West Coast bank. So if I need to get cash, can be difficult, and that's what I sort of needed to do today. I needed to make a money order for $1,345, and I was like, God, I tried to just go to the ATM and withdraw it. They wouldn't let me. It was too much. Like the limit's like 500, and I don't think I could do multiple withdrawals of 500. So I was like, God, and I asked the bank I was just asked, and then thankfully though, the post office. So I was at a grocery store, Tops grocery store, which has money orders. You have to give them cash for the money order. So I couldn't get the cash. I was like, God darn it. But I went outside, I called my bank and asked them, do you have a local branch? Like not an affiliate branch, somebody you've partnered with in Rochester, New York? And they're like, no, sorry, we don't. So I was like, all right. But I remembered the post office does money orders. So I walked to the post office. Luckily, the post office allows you to buy money orders with a debit transaction, so you don't need the cash. So I was like, thank God, I don't have to worry about this. So I went. So that's my lesson. If you need a money order, you don't have cash, but you have money in your bank, go to the post office. So I got my money order from the post office. They can only do up to $1,000 on one check. So I had two checks, $1,000 and $345 on the other. Brought it down to the place. They have my apartment ready. So I could probably move in next month if I wanted to, but my lease for this place is up in August 1st. So I don't want to pay double. Like, I'm just trying to avoid paying double. And I need to stay here to take advantage of the tall ceilings to finish this piece. So, because this is 8, what did I say? It's basically 8 feet and 3/4. Like, the piece is 8 feet and 3/4. I mean, 8 feet and a third, about whatever that was. 8 feet and what is this? 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches. So 8 feet and a few inches. So it's taller than 8-foot ceilings. And that's like right to the thing. But I also have like a few inches of excess hanging on the top and the bottom that I'm going to cut off later. So I kind of need the full height of this space to be able to finish this piece. So I'm just going to stay here, and then I won't have to pay more, because I asked the lady as well that was doing the stuff with me, what if I moved in a couple of days earlier? They're like, well, we have to prorate and all that. I'm like, never mind. I'll just not even worry about it. So we'll just start on August 1st next month or whatever, in over a month. So it's such a relief. The money part, $13.45. So what is that? So right now I'm paying not $795. My lease is $795. $550 on the nose. So I'll be paying $550 more, which is $50 less than I was kind of planning on, in a sense, which is great. So, and hopefully between the bonus I'm getting and working the extra work, which I told you about last week, or whenever I told you in a previous podcast that they're giving me an overload on my contract so I can teach another class. So between those things, I should be able to cover rent, no problems. So that's feeling good. The apartment itself, there's no comparison. There's just no comparison. I lived back in the day. If you go back to my archives of the Zen video, there was when I first started really doing this talk to the camera stuff, I did it in a studio I called the Closet Studio, which was in an apartment in Seattle in this area called Lake Forest Park. That apartment, as of to date, is still my favorite apartment. It had in-unit clothes wash. It had a dishwasher. It had a fireplace. It had 2 bedrooms, so my kids could be in there as well. I don't remember how much I was paying, but the rent was affordable for me. It was nice. It was clean. It did get ants sometimes, but Seattle and then the West Coast has ants. It's just a thing. It didn't bother me that much. Not like rodents here do. So it's a nice apartment. This new one that I'm going to be moving into reminds me a lot of that apartment. Just the way it feels. They're based on 4plexes, 4 units, and then I feel like I told you this last week, but I've said it a couple of times somehow. But anyways, I'll say it again. But so it just feels much better. I'm really excited. I got to see the actual unit I'll be in. It's great. It's fine. 1 bedroom, lots of space, like way more space than I really need. Like a lot of space. It's got a nice, large living room, obviously 8-foot ceilings, but the living room space is like twice the size of this space. Like the bedroom is like the size of this space, and the living room space is like twice the size of this space. Plus there's this like dining nook, and there's just like there's sort of a space that's the size of my bedroom right now as just a storage space, which will be great. So I can put like all this clutter that I have in my studio can just live in storage. In my studio, I think I'm still gonna make the living room my studio, and the bedroom will just be my bedroom. I'll just be a space to relax and be separate from my studio. And I think that's what I'll do. I'm not gonna worry about I'll probably still entertain people. I'll let people come over, but it'll just be like, I don't know. We'll decide. Maybe I might put my studio in the bedroom, but I kind of feel like I want to take advantage of the extra space. But we'll see. I'll let you know when that time comes. But I don't know, just so much nicer, so much better than this space. Quiet, much closer. I did a Google map to. It's like Google Maps says 20-minute bike ride, where this is like 40 minutes to work. So basically halfway there. It's like if if I live here and work was here, and it was 40 minutes that length, my new apartment's like over here, 20 minutes. It's like basically it's basically just 20 minutes this way. So I'm all the way down south to where I work, but then it's just 20 minutes to the east. It's 20 minutes east of where I work compared to, yeah. So I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, the disadvantages, which I could, whatever. It's like there's no shops or stores or anything really in walking distance, which is bummer, but oh well. That's the one advantage. Like if this place was not as loud and was cleaner in terms of like no rodents and stuff, I would have stayed here, and B, I just like that there's 7-Eleven right across the street and just shops and like places to eat right down. I can get stuff really close. I don't need to do anything other than walk outside to get what I need. But I'll live with it. All right, we're almost there. One last thing. Diet. So I've gained a little weight again, unfortunately. So these pants right here, so you can see that. See how that right here is like pushing out above my pants? These, about a month and a half ago, these pants were dropping loose on my waist. These pants were dropping loose. There was looseness. There was a little bit of looseness. Over a month and a half or so, I've gained a little weight back around my midsection, and I'm really disappointed about it. So I'm going to start getting more aggressive again. And so the things that I know, the energy drinks I've been drinking a lot of, right there, those are like 200, 300 calories in one shot, plus whatever I'm eating. And I haven't been as strict with my diet, but I haven't been like crazy terrible with my diet. But I'm really disappointed. I thought I was like able to maintain. I thought I was like, okay, I lost a little bit of weight, and I could sort of go back to eating not as strictly, and it would maintain. But no, it gained it back. So this next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, all of July, basically, hardcore calorie watching and exercising. At least 20 minutes on the bike and hardcore calorie. I'm no more energy drinks. That's why I'm drawing the line at the energy drinks. No more energy drinks. They work. The crappy part about it is they work. They're the only thing that works. It's like tea doesn't work. Coffee makes me feel weird. The energy drinks actually wake me up, but I don't know. I mean, I could try the fake sugar kind, because I've been just drinking the real sugar because there's like 0 calorie energy drinks. Maybe I'll do those every once in a while. All right, friends. But I just don't like the idea of the fake sugar. Tweaks me out. It feels like that's just worse in some ways. All right, friends. We did it. Nice long one today again, an hour or so. Appreciate all the support, you hanging out, being on this journey with me. Things are, I don't know, let's keep it going. Let's keep it looking up. The last thing, so right now, the new apartment's going to be amazing. Now we need to do that same thing with the car. Like, how can we get a Kia Carnival? How can we do it? A new, off the lot Kia Carnival. That's what I want. Let's do it. All right, YouTube, work your magic. YouTube, internet, work them, or somebody freaking find my artwork and be like, oh, we want to buy your pieces, Zim. I would really love to have an exhibition. Let's get that's another thing I need to spend some energy on, is emailing for exhibitions. So, okay, real quick before we end this one, I've been thinking a lot about next school year and the approach that I'm going to have for my work. So partly because I'll be working more, maybe I'll say this again next week, but partly because I'll be working more if I get that extra class, and the fact that I was able to stay here through the summer and work on a piece like this. Well, I did it last summer too. It was just different. But this piece I'll be like, okay, I'm not going to worry too much about making work next year. I'll focus on my live streaming. I'll make a piece here and there, but this big piece that I'm making will carry me through. And a couple of things I want to do is more administrative. I want to email more places. I want to just start cold blasting, emailing every place I can think of. I have the work, like put together a packet. I have the work ready to hang, plus I would love to do a performance like even a year ago I still needed maybe the performance, where now because of this year, I was thinking about it. I was telling my community, I started the year 47 with Kamala Harris, 47. And then over winter break, I made the 100 drawings. And then over spring break, I made the trans rights one and the 50 drawings. And then mixed in between all that, I made this one you're seeing behind me. And I'm making the big piece over there. So that's 47, 100, 50, fascist, and this one, the big one I'm calling Canon event. The Canon event, 2025 Canon event. So that's 5 major pieces through the year. That's pretty darn good, I think. Ask any artist if they made 5 major pieces, I guess. I mean, I suppose it just depends on the artist and stuff. But so I feel good, and then combine that with the 47, 70, 7269 and the 116, plus the other propaganda posters I've done. Like I have a good amount of work that would fill a pretty large space if we wanted to show like all of it. So I just need to put together the package of all the work that I've done, and start to blast out places and be like, I have this work ready to be shown. Let's do it. And plus I can make more because I do performance. We'll make another body of work potentially at the exhibition. So let's do it. All right. That's all. I think. Oh, and the other thing with that too is I'm going to use the school year to write I'm going to make an article. I'm going to write an op-ed. Op-ed. What does op-ed mean? Okay, an op-ed, short for opposite the editorial page, is a type of written prose commonly found in newspaper, magazines, and online publications. They usually represent a writer's strong and focused opinion on an issue of relevance to a target audience. Okay, yeah, my op-ed about the state of education in higher education in the arts. And I'm going to write that this year over the school year. That's going to be my goal, to write this op-ed. Maybe hopefully it won't take me all school year, and I'll start to share it out with my colleagues to give me some feedback on it. But yeah, that's a goal of mine. I want to get published. I want to get published somewhere, somehow. All right. That's good, friends. Thank you so much for listening. As always, be loving, kind, and patient, and we'll catch up with you again, hopefully real soon. Peace.